Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Today, I actually have no news, and I don't know of any streams that are happening today because Critical Role is dark, and they're the only ones that I actually really know of that are happening on Thursday. So again, if you have any streams that you know of that you support, maybe that you're in, let me know, and I will see if I can work them into my streaming calendar so that I can let people know about them, and we can get the word out some more. The only little piece of, I guess, maybe kind of news that I can think of is that I am bad at math, and Wild Beyond the Witchlight comes out Tuesday, not Wednesday of next week, because that's how numbers work. So that doesn't change a whole lot for pretty much anybody, but make sure that if you're looking to pre order that book, you get it done ahead of time because I'm sure your time is running out if it is not already run out from your local game store. But with that, which is a very bare minimum kind of thing, out of the way, let's go ahead and get into what we were talking about today. Today is Thursday, which means that it is Third Party Thursday, which means that I am going to talk about a third party supplement that I really like. And this week, for Third Party Thursday, because it is Character Week, I want to talk about those. Oh, there we go. Those Who Wander. This book. Here we go. Let's get the art up in there a little bit more. I actually just recently got off of Kickstarter. It is beefy. It is something like 475 pages long, so it's a hefty book, and it is actually like a half step away from D&D. It is close enough to where I'm counting it as a third party supplement for D&D, but it is not technically officially D&D because it uses minusculely different mechanics, but in such a way that like it doesn't it doesn't affect you being able to play it in an actual Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Um, I am pulling this because this has a super unique character creation system that I think is really cool. I really want to try it at some point to see how it actually feels like mechanically and everything like that. But the system itself is super cool, and I am really excited to be able to dig into it. I've test created a character or two with it already, um, but I have not gotten to actually get into it and play one of these characters at this point. Um, so I am going to. It's got a lot of stuff in it. The thing I'm going to focus on is this character creation system because it is like half of the book. Um, the back half of the book has things like uh, wealth and equipment, monsters, DM tools, that sort of thing. I think technically it's a GM tool because Dungeon Master is trademarked by Wizards, and this is not, again, a D&D supplement necessarily, even though it pretty much is. So we are going to walk through how you create a character in this specific setting. I guess it's a setting. It's close enough to a setting for me to call it a setting. Um, so there are four distinct steps, which is not a great way to describe it because we are going to be talking about a step called steps. There are four distinct, steps. I don't really know what else to say about it in creating a character in this system. Um, they are equally important, kind of across the board, with the way that the game works, the way it's laid out in this book, which is part of what is cool to me because you when you're creating a character in D&D, a lot of times you pick a background and then you don't really think about that background ever again. It just gives you a couple of proficiencies and that's it. You're left with that. This sort of circumvents that. And I'm going to show you how in just a second here. So the first step number one for us, um, creating a character here, is the parentage step. So in 5th edition, you have your races that you would pick, and that is just sort of what you end up with based on, you know, your racial decision that you make. And people like homebrew a little bit around it to make it a little bit more customizable based on what you want. If you're a Critical Role fan and you've seen Campaign 2, if you think of Jester Lavore, she is a tiefling that does not have all of the normal like infernal stuff, because of uh, her coloration, and she has like cold resistance, and her hellish rebuke does cold instead of fire. Um, so that's just like a little bit of homebrewery that they had done in order to get that character to be what Laura had wanted it to be. But with this one, you pick uh, two parents and you gain unique benefits from each of those parents. And when I say you pick two parents, I don't mean like you just pick, okay, I'm going to be the kid of a dwarf and an elf. You pick which of your two parents each of those is going to be, because each of them brings different stuff to the table. Essentially, the way it seems is like they brought in the a core race from like D&D, and I say core. There's a lot of races here. They're not all core races, but they've brought in one of the races and they've broken it into two sections for the most part. A couple of them have just one, but the majority of them have two. Um, and you get something based on which number parent that is. So if you are a dwarf parent one with an elf parent two, you will get something different than an elf parent one and a dwarf parent two, which is really pretty cool. Um, the example I have written down here is the draconic parentage for the draconic one parent. So if your first parent is draconic ancestry, it affects your age, your size, and you get a breath weapon. If your second parent is draconic, it affects your age, your size. You get dark vision, and you get resistance to whatever uh, damage type you would have gotten from the breath weapon. So you don't get both of those things from just having one of the parents. But it does play into then whatever you also get with your other parent that you pair it with. Now, you can, by all means, have two of the same kind of parent. So you can have two draconic parents, and you have your age, size, breath weapon, dark vision, damage resistance all rolled into one, which could be pretty cool. Um, because there's nothing that's making you be a hybrid of a couple of different lineages, so much as just that didn't make any sense. You don't have to do that. You can just pick the exact same parent, and you will get the full range of benefits from that race. Then, the full list of races that are available in this way in the actual book are dwarven, elven, halfling, human, avian, so like Aarakocra, celestial, so like Asmar kind of thing, draconic, dragonborn-ish, genie, gnoll, gnomish, goblin, infernal, tiefling, and orc. Um, you can very easily, as a DM, I would say, add to that, right? If what you're doing is taking one of the races and you're splitting it into two equal or approximately equal pieces, and then just using that as your template for it, you could take any race you wanted to from 5th edition and throw it in there. I would think, um, because it doesn't even take that much work. You just pick the things that'll affect it, and every single one of them affects your age and your size. And then you pick out the unique features of it, and you pull those apart to create your two different pools essentially to draw from. Now, some of them, like I believe the genie is got all of it sort of wrapped up in one, but it doesn't necessarily have as many features as it would if you had picked two of the exact same parent. So, not all of them have this split, but the majority of them do. Now, the next thing that you pick is your background. And if you spend a lot of time making D&D characters, one of the things that I'm sure that you realize that I omitted from the last step, which normally comes bundled in with your race, are your ability score improvements. This book takes a similar path to what Tasha's is moving towards with D&D, and so if you're using the Tasha system, it's not as big of a difference for you necessarily, where the ability score comes with your job, which means that whatever you have chosen to do with your life up to this point is what you are going to get your ability score increases in. So effectively your background here, which is what we are picking in step two, uh, is what your career path has been up to this point. This is where you pick up your ASIs, your proficiencies, all across the board. So let's see, that's skills, saving throws, tools, language, um, etc., and all of the lore that would go with like your background normally into one section. Um, so if we are looking at an example from this one of the options for you is performer. You get an ability score bump to your dexterity and your charisma. You get dexterity and charisma saves. You get a number of skills. You get a number of tools. You get a number of languages, and you get your starting equipment here. So this has taken a little chunk of the race part of character creation. It has taken pretty much the entire background part of character creation and a little bit out of the class section of character creation and thrown it all into one section here, to give you what is effectively your career to this point, your path that you've taken at this point, before you have become this adventurer, which is cool to me because you don't always get what you're exactly looking for when you're doing this sort of thing in fifth edition, just because of the way that it's split up like that. This one is like a smidge harder to homebrew around if there's not one that really quite fits what you're looking for there. So you work with your DM and you can probably figure out what you want. But there are plenty of them that are probably good enough for what you're looking for. Step 3 is one of my favorite steps for this. I say that like I haven't enjoyed every single step we've gone across at this point. The third thing for creating a character in this system is you pick an heirloom. Now, these heirlooms are items that your character has that they carry with them and that grow with you every time you go up in power, every time you gain effectively a level. But we'll talk about the levels in just a second. I don't know why I'm so washed out right now. Every time you pick up a level in this, your heirloom also powers up. An example that I'm just going to run through super fast because honestly I could sit here and talk about these all day, is the Horn of the Crypt Keeper found on page 39 of this book. It's let me hang on or yeah. So it comes with this, I don't know if you can see it, not super well. Oh, sorry about that. There we go. It comes with this table here that has a step for it to take every single level, the entire way up the line from 1 to 20. So it starts off as a seemingly mundane item, and it climbs all the way up to being a legendary item. And so the thing starts off seemingly mundane, and then the first level thing you pick up is, or the second level, I guess, technically, you can cast False Life without expending a spell slot or material components equal to a number of times equal to your spellcasting ability modifier. And if you drink out of the horn as part of casting False Life, instead of rolling one or more dice to replenish your health pool, you instead use the highest number possible for each die. So a good effect, but still something that wouldn't climb past like an uncommon magic item at the most. But if you then go all the way up to the top ability, the level 20 ability, as an action, you can put the bottom of the horn to your lips, and a low, mournful wail pours out. The ground shifts as zombies begin to burst through it. A zombie horde is friendly to you and your allies. It only takes verbal commands you issue. No action required by you. If you don't issue commands, it defends itself, but otherwise takes no actions. It can be dismissed again by raising the horn to the bottom of your lips. The horde crumbles to dust then. So we're talking about being able to summon a literal horde of zombies as an action as many times as you want a day. Yeah, that's a pretty well legendary item right there. And these things, these items range in pretty much every capacity You've got this horn. The next one up is a bow. There are shields. There are swords. There are like glasses. There's like little trinkets. Anything that you think could fit your character, there is a way to figure it out from this and make it fit your character. Um, and if there's not one in here that you think fits perfectly, again, this is an easy one to just sort of take and run with because it's just kind of a bunch of magic items rolled into one, as long as the features sort of build on each other. They've laid out what is effectively a good template here for you to be able to do that. So the final step, which again is not the best thing to call it because this is going to get confusing with this part, um, in creating a character here, are the steps. They have thrown out the leveling system in the sense that D&D has, 13 core classes, plus Blood Hunter if you count that. And you level up within those classes. There are prerequisites to jump between them, that sort of thing. This gets rid of that. This switches you to a step-based system for leveling up your character. So there are no core classes, and you effectively level up on this here skill tree. Hello. Which, as you can see, it branches out starting at the top and then reconverges at the ability increase section, and it does it again and again, and it does it another three times on the next set of pages as well. And what this does for you is it allows you to get yourself as specific as possible within each of these sections before reconverging and then getting to expand out again. So effectively, if you decide early on that you want to play somebody who has been exposed to magic, you can start and pick up the magical side of that skill tree, break down into the different pieces that you want, and then you hit that ability increase and you are set back to being ready to take either martial or magical class features again, essentially. The nice thing about this is that you never miss an ability score increase. You don't get extra ones for being like a rogue or a fighter or something like that, but you do not end up skipping over those ability score increases where in 5th edition, if you don't hit that 4, 8, 12, 16, 19 section, or not section, level, you will miss that. So this is a cool way to sort of get around that. There are 4 of these major chunks, like the big ones that I showed you, and then 2 little ones. The little ones are the ones that come between level 17, or that come in level 17 and 18, and then level 20. So you have these full sections of 3 ability score, 3 ability score, 3 ability score, all the way up to level 16, and then you go 17, 18 ability score, and 20, where you get to pick your capstone feature, which there are, I believe, 6 different ones. Let me flip to that page real quick so I can make sure. Yep, there are 6 different ones, which sounds like less of a choice, but if you pair it with all of the choices that you made so far in creating this character, you're left with what is probably a wildly different character than if you picked the same thing and you had taken an entirely different path. I think this system is really cool. I will try it in a game at some point soon here, but I think as a concept, it is genius. It's a phenomenal idea, and I am super excited to get to try and use it at some point here, because it is just one of those things where you don't really think about it when you're playing a game like D&D, because it's just how it's done, and so you roll with it and you let it be. And so seeing people innovate off of that system using the same base general idea is super, super cool. And I am a big, big fan of that. That is the end of the character creation section of this book. Again, there are DM tools, there are monsters, there are, this, that, and the other thing in here that you can flip through and find and read if you decide you want to pick up this book. It is phenomenal. I really, really like it. It's a hefty read, but it's a good read. And I have everybody that I've explained it to so far has been really interested in it, and they are excited to either try it or see how it goes for me. Whenever I do manage to get people to play it. Um, so again, this is Those Who Wander. The gorgeous cover art. Um, it is based on, or it's not based on. The title is, of course, based on the J.R.R. Tolkien quote. So that sort of gives you an idea of the world that you are looking at with this book. And again, hefty read. So read at your own peril, I guess. But that is everything that I have for you guys today. Tomorrow we are wrapping up Character Week with me talking about the process of actually creating a D&D character, because so many people ask me to help them learn how to play D&D, and I can't do that just all in one shot. It would take me way too long. But I can teach you how you are supposed, well, the way that I make characters. There are slight variations in it, but I can teach you how to make a D&D character. Um, so thank you all so much for following along, making me part of your morning routine. I really, really do appreciate it. Um, Follow along, subscribe, like, whatever it is, so that uh, I can continue to do this. And the more of you that do that, the longer I can do this. And I've really been enjoying doing this. But until next time, keep on rolling.